Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and today's episode, we are going to talk about Queen of the Comeback. But also, don't forget, if you want to dance with me at a Club Fitz Fitness Masterclass, I'm going to be in Indianapolis Sunday, June 24th from 3 to 5 p.m. Go to laurenfitz.com/events to buy your ticket today.
Don't forget, you can find Dr. Lauren on Instagram at Club Fitz Fitness with a Z, on Facebook at Facebook.com/Dr. Lauren Fitz or Facebook.com/Club Fitz Fitness. You can find me, Cinthanie, on Instagram at Cinthanie, that's CINTHANIE, or on Facebook at Facebook.com/The Girl Boss Daily.
Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and I am joined by my blonde, gorgeous co-host, Cinthanie McAllister. What's up, girl?
Hey, girl, hey. I always feel like I throw you guys for a loop because every time I get on the video, my hair has been different color.
I mean, literally, it's every single time. And people that only listen to us, they don't watch the podcast on our YouTube channel, don't realize like your hair literally changes every single episode.
It totally does. It's just like it's a hobby for me. Like changing my hair is literally a hobby for me. Apparently. So I like to do.
So you look like the blonde, and I'm looking a little dark and brunettish, right?
It looks brunette, yeah.
Who knows? This is probably closer to my natural color now that, because it's been a while since I've gotten my hair colored. But let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, more importantly, because the listeners are like, do we really want to hear about your hair? No, but you should check out the videos because the videos are fun to watch too, right?
We think we're fun to watch.
Totally. So today's episode is Queen of the Comeback. And you didn't know, but this was my idea pretty much. I had this idea since Thursday. You, my friend, represent the generation, which you don't like the name, but we're gonna address why you don't like the name millennials. But you represent a millennial that has her together, and we're gonna talk about why that is and what in your life have you done to just come back. Not that you were down and out, but you are breaking the stereotypes for your generation for sure, right? Sure. Yeah. So before we get into the episode, we have to give a shout out to our review of the week. And we're trying not to jack up the last name.
Butcher this last name.
Yeah, but
everybody always messes up my name. And even though I've gotten used to it, it still is I wish you could say my name right. So I try so hard to always make sure that I don't do that to other people because I know how it feels. So I'm going to tread lightly on this name. But the iTunes review of the week this week is a 5-star review. It says top podcast. This is from Stephanie S. You know who you are, girl. I'm just not even going to try to butcher your last name, but you know who you are.
But you spell it SOIGNET, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to butcher it, but you know who you are. Thank you, Stephanie.
I don't know if it's She knows who she is.
For real.
All right. So she says, first off, best intro music ever, gets my booty shaking and immediately lifts my mood. Yes. Love this podcast. Awesome info delivered from two amazing ladies in a fun and engaging way. I look forward to each new episode. Keep it up.
Oh, and I have chills. Of course.
I just wait for the day that you don't say that because I know it's not going to happen.
I know, but then the person that left the review is going to be like, "What the heck? I'm on the ones that didn't give her chills." So, but yeah, no, I get chills very easily. There's no secret to that. So, thank you guys so much for taking the time to leave a review for us because the more reviews that are left for us, the easier it is to search Fitz and Healthy podcast. And we are definitely
love to connect with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
What you have to say.
Absolutely. So today's episode has everything to do with celebrating your landmark in your business. And let me just preface this by saying, because for people that have been listening to us for a long time, you know that we both do health and fitness coaching. But for the new listener, that maybe this is your first time to listen, both Cinthanie and I do health and fitness coaching online. And the success of your coaching business has everything to do with what you do and put into it, just like any business. So whether it's an online business or you have a job that you go to at an office 9 to 5 or whatever, this episode is going to be beneficial for you. I would love for people in your generation to listen to it. But I also, like we were talking pre-show, there are a lot of people with children that are in your generation that literally make them pull out their hair because they can't get their adult children to get their butts into gear and get their life right. So you are a perfect example of a millennial. Yes.
I hate that term so much. I know that it's like, I don't know. I hate that term so much because it makes me feel, and I know I'm not the only person who feels this way. And I feel like saying this is just going to like reinforce the stereotype even more that I'm such a millennial. But I hate the term millennial because it makes me feel like there's this little bitty box where millennials have to go and that I have to stay there. And then it has to be because I'm a millennial. And I like, it makes me so irritated. I hate that term.
Well, we're going to break you out of that box today.
Okay.
I mean, truly, it's the name that your generation has been called, and every single generation has a name. And I think every generation hates the name that they're called for whatever reasons, because no one likes to be put in a box.
It has such a negative term to it, I guess you could say. Like it just, oh, you're a millennial. Like it just, I don't know.
Right. But think about it. It's completely, it has nothing to do with the word. It has everything to do with the connotation of your generation. And that's every generation that has ever come about.
Right.
When it's talked about like, oh, you're Gen X. Like every single generation feels that way.
Totally.
So, and it's always at this stage of your life where you're in your 20s, that's really when you start to really figure out who the hell you are, right? And that's when a generation is given a name, right? For the most part, or you start to be aware of your generation and the name,
right?
And no one likes to be put in a box, but I mean, let's just state the facts. Stereotypes are there for a reason, and every single generation has its own stereotypes for reasons, right? But
I think that's why I hate it, because I don't want to be associated with the stereotypes that come with it. That's why I hate it.
Yes, absolutely. But that's the point why I wanted to do this particular episode, is because you break a lot of these stereotypes, my friend. And
thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that.
And the reason why I wanted to do this also was not only because you hit a landmark in your business, but we are approaching the 1-year anniversary of our podcast, which is crazy. That just gave me chills again.
Yeah.
We're approaching that 1-year anniversary, but I just got back from a lot of traveling. Like I hit 6 states in 6 days. I've been to Mexico a couple times. I'm going to Mexico again next month. I'm traveling a ton. And so I'm getting to meet a lot of people that are listeners and getting feedback. And so many of them talk to me about you and how much they love you. And
stop it.
No, but seriously, and they can't believe how much you have your what together for being a millennial. And so I thought, I
love
great.
To shock people. I love to shock people.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with telling the listener. I know how old you are, but kind of telling the listener that is first time listener a brief history of who you are, so that they can understand where you are today. So like how old you are and brief, because most of the listeners know your history. So
yeah. And that's the thing is like, it made me think of when we first started recording and we would have to do mic checks and they would be like, say something. And I would just be like, hi, my name is Cinthanie. I like long walks on the beach and fresh cut flower. Like I would just to mess with them because I didn't know what to say. So I so badly just want to be like, I'm Cinthanie. I like the beach. I like flowers. Like
exactly.
Totally not the case. So, but and it's funny because I say that I love to shock people, but you surprised me by wanting to do this today. I was like ready to talk about something else that we were going to record, and Lauren's like, so we're going to talk about you today. I was like, perfect. Yay.
but it's perfect. It's perfect because the universe totally had it coming, because you have your be a badass shirt on.
I have a shirt that says "Be a badass with a good ass."
Yes. Oh, I love it. It's totally the universe saying, yeah, we need to talk about what a badass you are. So,
You're
boom.
I think that something really important to point out. So I'm 24 years old currently to this date. And I think something that's really important to point out is the age really doesn't have anything to do. Like your biological clock has nothing to do with your worth and what you are capable of doing. And I mean that for somebody who's in their 80s. I mean that for somebody who's 15, 45, whatever. Like
Excellent.
your biological clock
Absolutely.
it has nothing to do with your potential and who you are as a person. It really doesn't.
Right.
And
we're not talking about fertility, because usually when people say biological clock, that's what they think of.
Oh, no, like not at all. It's totally not what I'm talking about.
Your numerical age.
Yeah. your years that you got going on.
Exactly.
Anyways, but I don't see it as I'm a 24-year-old that's done this and this. I see it as I have a collection of my life experiences and this is what it's accumulated to. Not
Absolutely.
that I'm a 24-year-old and this is what you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I don't know. I guess I just don't see it the way that most people see it. Robert, shut up. Robert's over there like, hey. You guys don't see Robert.
Nope.
Robert gets to do and say whatever he wants because no one can hear it.
He talks in our ears.
Yes.
We're like,
that's why I always refer to him as the Wizard of Oz, because he's like, he's there, but nobody knows he's there.
For sure.
But anyway, so I am just an accumulation of my life experiences and what's brought me to this point, this season of life that I'm in. I didn't graduate high school until I was 19 years old. I was a super senior because I did not give two craps about anything when I was in school. I was too cool for school. I skipped school to spend time with whoever would skip school with me. Like I was the one always being like, hey, like let's skip class. Like let's go do something. Come on, like let's go do something more fun than this.
And because of that, you graduated at 19, right?
And because of that, I graduated at 19 and I graduated online. And because I literally couldn't go to school, they were going to hold me back 2 grades because I had missed that much time in the classroom. So I had to do online school. So I didn't graduate till I was 19. I didn't get my license until I was 20. So homegirl,
your driver's license? Holy crap.
Yes. So like homegirl was kind of behind on the scheme of things that I should be doing, right?
I love it.
I was like the perfect storm of what not to do in teens, really. And so I ended up landing in the dental field somehow at 16. I ended up landing in the dental field. Somebody just asked me if I wanted to come help with like some paperwork. I started doing that. I worked into becoming a dental assistant. And so I was like, cool. I didn't feel like I needed school because I was 16 and I was a dental assistant. Like, this is what I'm going to do for life. Like, I don't need nothing. I don't need anything. I don't need any more education because I'm a dental assistant at 16. Like, I just was cool. I was too cool for anything.
Yeah.
So I was a dental assistant for 6 years and it was not my thing. Like, I worked hard and got good at what I was doing because I kind of had to because I didn't have any other option.
Right. And probably made decent money.
I made okay money. Like for a 16-year-old, I was like, yeah, look at me go. But then like as a 20-year-old, I was like, okay, like, is this what I'm going to like make for life and do for life? Like, I just wasn't passionate about teeth. Like it just was not, I didn't wake up in the morning excited to work on teeth, but I really did like talking with people and like hopefully like making their day a little better. Like I liked that I was in a part of the medical field where I could help people, but it wasn't super invasive. So I did like that part, but I was not about teeth. Like I just didn't want to do it for life. I gained quite a bit of weight when I was doing all of that, working as a dental assistant. I was in a really great relationship with who is my now husband. So he has been with me through all of it. All of it. So, yeah, we've been together since he was 17. So anyway,
and you're a newlywed. You got married.
I am a newlywed. Yeah.
6 months ago or so?
Yeah. A little bit more than that. I think it's like 7 or 8 months now.
Okay.
But anyways, I had gained a lot of weight. I ended up stumbling again. I have done a lot of stumbling. I stumbled.
All good points to make.
A lot of stumbling. This is like some of so many things like crammed into one. But I stumbled into health and fitness coaching. I was not fit. I had no leadership skills. I had barely graduated high school. Like when I say barely, like literally I barely did it. I did it just to say that I did.
Right.
And it was not with flying colors. And I ended up in online health and fitness coaching. Like being an entrepreneur and a business owner was not anything that like, if you had looked at my life plan and where it was going, nobody would have been like, you know what's going to be a really good fit for you? You should be a fitness coach and you should do it online and you should do it in your 20s. Like there's just nothing in my life said that should happen, but it's
Right.
happened. And so it's kind of what's brought me here. Like I said, I had the same boyfriend through all of this, who is now my husband. We got married in September of 2017. If you're a listener, you listen to that whole journey. But
Yes.
we're newlyweds and he is graduating school next week.
Yay.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm in a really busy season of my life. And I feel like I've had a lot of things that could have made it so that none of this would make sense right now. Like I said, like my life plan was not going in this direction, but it ended up in this direction.
Exactly. So some of the points that I want to make are the fact that you and I both do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. One of my businesses is online health and fitness coaching.
Yeah.
I've got 2 online businesses, but one of them where I make a majority of my money, the health and fitness coaching, right? Yeah. The fact is that I have advanced degree. I have a medical degree. So not only did I graduate high school early, I graduated college in 4 years. I graduated med school in 4 years and residency in 4 years. Yet you and I are both doing the same thing and we're both able to be successful at it. Mm-hmm. So this is for all of the listeners who ever had that voice in their head that said, well, I can't be XYZ because I didn't go to this school or I didn't get this degree or I didn't have this privilege given to me when I was raised. Like all of these excuses and statements and untruths that we learn throughout life hold people back. Totally. Now, what I want to get to is the fact that something, and it wasn't just one thing. There have been many things in your adult life that have made you realize that, okay, one, there's more to life than just this job that I thought was a cool job. And we're not knocking people that are dental assistants their whole lives, but
not at all. It just wasn't for me. It just wasn't the right fit for me.
Exactly. And the fact is that you recognize that and you did something about it, because there are so many people that get into a job and they get comfortable and they have that exact same thought, but they don't do crap about it. And they stay going to a job every day that they're like, is this it? Is there's got to be more to life, right? Yeah. But I get a paycheck every 2 weeks and it pays my rent and it pays my whatever. And that limiting mindset keeps them in a place in life in which they're not living life to its fullest. They're not living out their fullest potential. So let's talk about a few of the big life events that you're comfortable talking about that got you out of the average American mindset of, okay, let's just get into the rat wheel of life, right? Let's get a job that pays the bills and forget about asking if I want to be happy the rest of my life doing this, right? What was the first moment that you were like, okay, this whole dental assistant thing, I'm not going to do the rest of my life and I'm going to actually take action to do something different?
So when I was a dental assistant, like I said, it's kind of just something that I fell into, like somebody that I knew was working for a large dental or orthodontic franchise.
Right.
She needed somebody to help her with filing stuff. And I started filing. And then they were like, maybe you could be a dental assistant if you want to. And I was like, yes, like, let's go for it. Cause that was so cool. Like I totally wanted to do that.
Yeah. And at 16, I mean, that is a cool job.
Right. I started in the dental field at 16 and started assisting at 17. So at 17, I was in a chair and like, they would always be like, you carry yourself so well. And like, the way you talk to people, you're so eloquent. And like, you're just so good with the patients and all this stuff. And like everybody that I worked with was at least double my age or more. Right. And so they would always like call me the baby and they'd be like, she's been dental assisting since she came out of the womb. Like they would just like always tease me. Like I was like the little one, you know?
Right.
And which was great. But at the same time, it made me realize like they've been doing this like all their lives. And that is great for them. They truly like love it. But it made me realize like, can I do this until I'm 40 and 50 and 60? Like, do I want to do this? Because I started to think about it and I was like, well, if I could do something like this at 16, then what can I do at 20? What can I do at 25? What could I be doing at 30? Like it started to kind of make me like wonder, like, is this what I want to always do? And so my mind was just I think I was open to something different, but I had no idea what else I was going to do because I didn't go to college. I didn't have like something that I was super amazing at or passionate about. Like I barely skimmed by graduating. Like
Right. So what I hear, the underlying tone in that is that you had a desire for more. So the desire is the word, right?
Yeah.
You have a desire to have more than what you had currently. Yes?
Yeah.
Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay.
And around that time is when my boyfriend, he graduated high school and then he decided he wanted to move to Seattle. Like that was the dream. Move to Seattle, gonna be amazing. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so he went 3 months before me and I stayed at my job and I worked my buns off, saved up a bunch of money, and I moved there. He already had a job and like gotten an apartment, but I had no job lined up. I didn't own a vehicle. Like I completely moved there with nothing but like hope and like desire to just make it work. Like I was literally living on a prayer going there. It's like we were so young too. And so I remember my mom, I think she was just like freaked out that I was going to move across the country with this like 18-year-old. Like we were just going to like make it work. Like it's cool.
Oh, we're babies. I can only imagine the fear that your parents
We were babies. But my parents also know that I've always been really strong-willed.
Yes.
And when I say I'm going to do something, there's not really anything talking me out about it. So they couldn't not make me go. Like I did it. And
so wait, you know what I hear underlying tone in that is that not only when you have a desire, you do something, but you have faith that you will be able to
I will make it work.
Yeah. So desire and faith. Those are two things that I'm hearing.
So I moved there. I had no job, no car, nothing. And I just dropped off an application to the closest place I could to my home. I walked in there and handed them my application and I walked out with a job. And then a couple months later, so for 3 months, I was walking to work or riding public transportation because I didn't have a car. But I wanted to be there so badly. And that's what I had to do. Cool. 3 months after I got there, I was like, okay, it's about to start to be winter. It's going to start to get darker faster and rain a ton because it's Seattle. And so I was like, I need to get a car. Right. So we walked into a dealership, sat down. I bought a car. I was able to make the down payment with my debit card. Like the guy just kind of was like, okay, like, so this is X amount that you would probably need for this down payment to make it the payments that you want. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And like, I just remember like, I left there bawling because that was like, I was driving my car. Like I was driving my car that I got for me. And it was such like I wanted to always feel like that. Like the way that I felt when I had just got like my car and it was mine and I did that, like that made me feel so like just
empowered.
Yeah. And so I was like, I always want to feel like this. Like I always want to feel like I just bought my own car that I worked really hard for.
That was your first girl boss moment.
It totally was. And it wasn't even like that it was this amazing like Audi Mercedes, like, but it was a car and it was mine and I had worked really hard for it and it was brand new.
Heck
and
yeah.
No, like I didn't need a mom or a dad to sign for me or pay for it, or like it was something I did.
Yes.
And I remember I had bought my laptop in cash. Like I worked for everything that I had. Like I did it for me. And like, I just wanted to always feel that way. Like I always wanted to feel that way.
Yes.
When you're empowered, like you want to have other people feel that way. Like, when you find your favorite drink at Starbucks and like everybody needs to know about how amazing it is. And like you need to share it with everybody. Like that's the kind of like when you're empowered, you want to share it with everybody. Like you want everybody to feel the way that you do. You know?
Absolutely. So, or can I say when you finally find a man that knows how to love a woman, you just want everybody to
feel that way.
Yes. You're like, holy crap. Why have I waited this long to find a man like this? Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. But keep going. Because this episode's not about me.
But it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Just when you feel like you've broken your glass ceiling, you want to break the next one. You're like ready for it all the time. You know?
Yes.
And so you can stay in that area of being empowered and moving and like falling in love with the grind and stuff. And about that time that I got my first car and felt all cool and stuff, coaching kind of fell into my lap. Okay. And that I just was like, I want to like lose some weight. I want to get fit.
Right. And so you were what, 18 at the time, 19?
No, I was 20.
20. Okay.
I was 20 when I became a coach. Yeah.
All right. So you've been a coach for 4 years now.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And my girl boss moment went like I became a coach and I did nothing. Like I didn't do anything with it.
I love
Like,
it. I love it.
I kind of was like, cool. I'm like, I'm a fitness person. I'm going to be a fit girl on Instagram. Like that was my next thing. Like
That makes me laugh every time you say that. Like for real.
It is truly 20-year-old Cinthanie. That was her goal.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those stereotypes of the millennials. Everyone wants to be famous on Instagram.
I became a coach for the wrong reasons.
Right.
But stayed for the right reasons.
I love that. I love that.
And so it wasn't until I kind of hit a low though, like I was like moved to Seattle with my boyfriend, bought a car, I'm a coach. And then I just like didn't do anything. And I gained a ton of weight.
Okay.
And I just, everything that I thought that we had built kind of crumbled around because reality set in. Like we didn't know anybody there. So he was the only friend I had. And so like, if you're having a bad day with the only friend you have, it's a bad day.
Right.
And I didn't know anybody and he was always working. Our hours didn't match up. Like it wasn't all like roses and daffodils like you think it would be.
Right. Right. It was a rough moment.
It was a low for me. And so we ended up moving home because I just told him I was like, I'm miserable here. Like, we're going to make this work. I can't be here. I just couldn't. And so we moved home and then that's when I felt like I was at my lowest low. Like I felt like I had given up on this dream of living in Seattle, that I had given up on like our plans and I made him come back with, I didn't make him, but like, this is the way I felt, you know?
Right.
And I had gained a ton of weight because I was like, had gotten depressed and sad. And so when
emotional eating, that's what we're talking about.
1000% a real thing. Like I was as round as the pizzas that I ate. If you've never seen my before pictures, you can look at them. It's cool, whatever.
Anyone that's seen your pictures, there's some, because we have listeners that are all sizes and shapes, and you have to understand that your low, your biggest weight is some people's goal, and we don't want to I guess
everybody's process looks different.
Yes.
You cannot compare your process to somebody else's progress.
Yes.
So don't like,
but what I do want to point out is that you're low. It was not so much how much you weighed, what you looked like, but how you felt. You were not happy because you were not at your healthiest, happiest. And ultimately that's our goal, is to empower the listener to become their healthiest and happiest and stay on that path.
I wasn't healthy in my mind. And because I wasn't healthy in my mind, I wasn't healthy in my relationship. I wasn't healthy in my work. I wasn't healthy in my eating habits. Like my mind was not in the right place. And so when I say my transformation, it's not just like physical for me. Like my mental transformation has been so much larger than anything that you can see going on the outside. The only difference that you could see is the look in my eyes, like the way that I carry myself compared to where I was when I started, you know?
Right.
So I got back and I was just at this low, and I remembered I was a coach and I had all these resources in front of me to do something about it.
Right.
And so I just kind of started working on me. And then even then I was probably a coach for 2 years before I really decided. I was like, you know what, like I could go for this. I really could. Like, again, I had gotten to a place where I felt empowered again because I'd lost a little weight, and like I started to kind of discover personal development and just like getting to know myself and getting to know like what makes me tick, like taking the time to quiet everything else that was going on so I could understand who I was and where I was going.
Right.
And that's something that's like forever a quest. Like you don't just figure it out. Like it grows and changes and evolves as you do, you know?
I love that.
But I started to be aware of that and aware of that process.
Right.
And so once that happened, I started to like carry myself differently and feel better. And just like, I think you could just tell, like people around me could just tell there was just something different that had clicked.
Right.
And then again, I hit another just kind of a plateau where I felt good again, like I was me again, but I wasn't progressing. Things weren't changing in my business. I wasn't my relationship was in a great place again and stuff, but I didn't feel like I needed to keep growing. And that I think that's the biggest mistake that all of us make over and over and over again, is that we choose to stop growing. We choose to stop doing the things that we did to get to where we are, like
so true. And sometimes we have to learn that over and over and over again.
Like for me, it's constantly something that I am learning all the time.
Let me ask you this. At what point did you actually start going into personal development? Like, how old were you? What stage was that the first time that you were like, okay, I'm going to try this whole personal development thing out?
I was probably, I want to say 21.
Okay.
Or 22.
I love that.
So
And that's something that I want the listener. So for our young listeners that are in their 20s, even, we have some teenagers that listen, which kudos to them. Cause this is personal development.
You're so far ahead.
Yeah, for real.
Congrats to you.
Yes. But I remember when I was at your stage of life, at your age, I was in med school and I would study at Barnes & Noble and I would see the self-help aisles and be like, they're weird. Like, okay. Okay, self-help. And it wasn't until I was actually in residency, the very first self-help book, if you will, that I read and I actually listened to it. I've always been an audio person, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that was the first time that I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn in this. But I was, like in my later 20s. And this is something that, whether you are a listener that's in your, younger stages of life, teenager 20s, or if you have an adult child, get them to open their mind to the reality that we are either growing or dying. And like you said, when you're not growing, you feel like you're at a plateau, but actually there's the opposite of growth is death, right?
Yeah.
A flower is either growing and living, or it's on its way to dying. And every point in a person's life that they stop that growing process is where you get these lows that you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So when personal development came into my life, it's funny because I actually wrote a blog post about this, because this is where what I call the good person mantra came from, which is that you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you. That's not just like some little thing that I came up with. It's
right.
Catchy, but like it legitimately is something that has completely changed my life.
Right.
But so when I was at this point, just before I started doing personal development, I was having bad days. Like I was just having bad days, and I just would always feel angry at the world. And like my poor husband, he is so like, he has just gone through all of it with me, but I've gone through all of it with him,
Right.
But I would wake up in the morning and just be angry, like angry at the world, angry to be up again, like angry to have to go to work. Like, and I remember one time he woke up with me and he just kind of stood there in the doorway in the bathroom and was like watching me brush my hair. And I was just like, I was angry. Like I was angrily brushing my hair. Like I was mad to be up and like alive that day. I just was angry for no reason. Like I woke up angry.
Right.
And I remember he like took the brush out of my hand, like really slow, because he was probably terrified of me.
Don't hit me with it.
Yeah, because I was angry. And he just set it down and he like took me in his arms and just like wrapped me up. And he was like, no one is out to get you.
Oh, love Tanner. He's such a good man.
He is.
He's got a good one.
I know. And I just remember like that was the first time that somebody else's voice was louder than my own in my head, because like I was angry. I would just wake up angry, and I was angry to be alive. And like my anger was sitting there waiting for me at my bedside when I'd wake up,
Right.
And it wasn't, it just, I wasn't.
And it wasn't obvious. It was something you were probably not aware of at all. Right?
No, I totally wasn't until he said that, until I realized like, oh, I don't have to be angry today. Like, I don't have to feel that way. Like he gave me permission to not be the limits that I was placing on myself. Like he gave
chills. I got chills.
And I go way further into that story on my blog post on my website. But anyways, and he gave me this book. He was like, have you ever read any books to like help you not feel this way? And I was like, no, because I just was angry. I'm like, what do you mean I need to read a book? Like I just was I was just a grumpy little thing. And so he gave me this book and he's like, you just need to read this.
What book was it?
You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
I love it.
And that is why that's the book that I recommend to anybody or everyone with ears, because for me, it was the first time I was able to read that I was not the limits I placed on myself. I wasn't the bad experience. Like I wasn't an accumulation of the bad things that had happened to me. Like it gave me permission to just like feel like I could do something.
Be the like, badass that's on your t-shirt right now.
Be the badass with a good ass. it gave me permission. And that's something that I would have never given to myself. I could have never given myself permission to step outside of the things that I felt like held me down, you know? And
Yes.
so, that's why I always say that you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you, because I want to make sure that I can give you permission to understand that and hear that when I say that. And that's why at the end of every team call I do, at the end of every blog post I write, at the end of any day or conversation or episode, I always say, you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you. Because for me, I needed permission to know that, and to know that like it's okay to be powerful.
Right.
Like, it's
no matter
okay
how old you are, no matter what you look like, no matter what stage of life you're at, you are a good person.
No matter if you were a super senior and you didn't have a car and you didn't have like none of what I'm saying. I was a super senior. Like, that's what it was.
I love that.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, you are not accumulation of your bad days. You are not defined by the experiences that you've had. And like, I just needed to know that. And once I knew that, things really changed, but you have to be reminded of that. And because of things that have happened for me within the past even 6 months, I have been strongly reminded of that. I lost my grandmother and my uncle within the space of 2 weeks of each other. And that was a huge reminder to me that I'm a good person and I deserve good things to happen to me, but I have to act accordingly. I have to act on that. I have to embrace that and step into that and not just wish that upon myself every day.
Right.
You know?
Right. And the key word that I want the listener to pick up on is act. It's action, because yes, you are a good person, but if you don't act on it and do something about it, you're going to stay in that space your entire freaking life.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, I had gotten to like a pretty, like, I felt valid in my business. I'd gotten to a place where I felt validated. Like, I was at a certain place that I was like, yeah, like I could say I was this type of a coach, and like other people would be like, oh, good for you. Like, that's cool. So I just felt valid. So I didn't feel like, again, I needed to grow anymore because I was valid. And that's, you know, like you said, the
complacency.
Growth is or death is the opposite of growth. Yeah. And so my business was dying. It was because I had felt like I'd gotten to a place where I felt valid. I could say that I was a coach with this kind of a business, and I felt cool about it. And I was like, I mean, they can't say that I'm not that, but I wasn't choosing to grow past that or try to evolve past that, you know? And I think that, and it's not even being a business owner, but just as a person in general, like, even with relationships, they always say, like, you need to date your spouse. Like, you need to, like, being married to someone is not where it's like, okay, cool, we sealed the deal, like, we're married. Like, that's just the start of it. That's just where you have committed to going through all the things with that person. And still nurturing that relationship and still choosing that person every day over choosing anger or choosing to be upset with them, or you choosing that person and choosing to evolve that relationship and grow. And it's just the same with you or a business or whatever it is may be. Daily, you have to choose to grow, choose to be a good person and act on that, and choose that you are deserving of good things and lead your life in that way. It's something that you have to do in any situation. So it's not even just for the coaches or the business owners or the entrepreneurs or the millennials. It's something that's like, it has no boundaries. Like, your potential has no boundaries. It has no limits. It has no time clock on it. Like, as long as you have a breath in your chest, you have a reason to try. You have a reason to keep going and growing and evolving. And it's really hard to not forget that sometimes, you know? And so having sometimes tragedy strike or things like that, like, if anything, I just beg you not to wait. I beg you not to wait for like something life altering to happen for you to be like, oh, I need to get my shit together. Like, kabam, the universe is telling me, like, just don't wait for that slap in the face. Like, wake up with that in front of you, knowing that, like, today is the day that you are a good person. Today is the day that you are deserving of good things, and that you go out and you act upon that and you live by that, you know, and you internalize that. Because I know that the days that I lead with that versus the days that I don't are completely different. And it's not that I have a different husband or a different house or different business or different friends. It's just that I am choosing to see those things and experience those things differently versus when I know I'm a good person and I deserve good things to happen to me, versus on the days that I choose to not live by that, you know?
So what I see is mindset. It starts with mindset.
Everything to
It starts with recognizing a desire to be better, to want more, to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, to go places that you didn't believe that you could in the past. But I also see faith that, okay, I have these desires, and I believe that if I act on these desires, that good changes will come. But ultimately, acting is the big thing that I want the listener to realize, that you, in your whole 20s, if you will, you've had the same resources, but what changed was the mindset, the desire, the faith, and the action. And once all of those aligned, you're making milestones in your business that some people never make in our particular business, but this applies to anyone and everyone. Everyone has milestones, what they're doing in their career, right? And I know plenty of coaches that have been coaching for a long time that still have the mindset, oh, I would love to hit whatever star diamond or whatever. And it's that changing of your mindset and acting on it that has gotten you here. And it doesn't matter that you're 24, 34, 44, whatever.
Yeah.
Something changed and you started acting on all of those changes.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, and that's the thing, is it's not like it just clicked one day and it's just gone up from there. It's something that I have to continually choose to remember. I have to continually choose to live in that space of choosing to be empowered today. Like, just because you are empowered or you feel like you have direction and you're like driven towards something doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. Like the bad days come. Wednesday of this week was a horrible day for me. Like but it was just not my good day.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I was any less deserving of good things or being a good person.
Right.
It doesn't mean because you're deserving of good things and you're a good person that bad things won't happen. It just means that you will be able to direct yourself through those things with a sharper vision and not stay down so long. I put a post on my Instagram about saying, and on the days when you feel like it's way too heavy and your head is down, just don't keep it down for too long, because your boldness shines brighter when it's held high. And it's just, you shine brighter when you hold yourself high, even on the days that are bad, because you're still going to have those bad days, but it's just choosing to recognize you've got a bad day, but that you don't choose to stay there.
Well, and another good point that I want to make sure that people understand, the importance of who you choose to surround yourself by and your world, because that's one of my absolute favorite things about what we do as coaches is that we are surrounded by a community of like-minded people. So when you have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, maybe a bad period of life where something is going on in your personal life, you are still surrounded by people that actually really care and are like-minded, that help you not go too far away from where you're supposed to be. And our journey, I always say it's not linear. It's not every day is better. Right. It's an average, right? And so some days we're going to have our Wednesdays like you had this week.
Yeah.
Some days we're going to have months like myself, where my personal life has been the one thing that has been this huge void that hasn't been filled. And that it affected me. It affected my business. It affected everything. And it's so nice because that void is being filled. And it's a period, whether it be a day, a week, a month, whatever. But I'm surrounded by people that love me, care me, that are that care for me. They care me, baby. And they're like-minded, and we all support each other on that journey of progression to becoming our better person.
And that's the thing, is I think that, I mean, it's important to know that like the people that you surround yourself with, like if they are not rooting for you, you got to get new people.
Amen.
And you have to
say that again. Say that again.
if the people that surround you are not rooting for you, you got to get new people, because
even if they're blood, even if they are blood.
Because the thing is you have to know that you deserve good people, and you have to know that you are good enough for people that support you. You have to know that. And that's the thing, is like the people around you are a huge thing. But again, it comes back to self-responsibility. And just, you know,
and
like
self-love.
Yes. And like you had mentioned that, you know, you had a hard couple months, and you know, you knew that you had people around you, but you take self-responsibility that it was something that you were experiencing, and you weren't placing blame on your experiences or this person or that person or that day. You have to give yourself grace, because life truly is an up and down all the time. Like the universe is constantly balancing itself. And I have learned that. So when things are going super great, I'm always like, not to sound negative, but I was like, okay, I know that there will be a balance here to come. And when the things are going low, 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 I remember that I know there will be a balance to come.
Yes, for sure.
But I really think that your experiences in life and the things that happen to you really reflect what you bring upon yourself. Because like I said, when I was not in a good place, I'm in the same relationship that I am now that I was when I was in a bad place. I have the same body that I was when I was in a bad place. I have the same family and people, but it was the fact that I wasn't being responsible for it. I was projecting it upon anything else other than me. I wasn't taking responsibility and saying like, I have control over the way that I feel and the way that I react and the way that I work and the actions that I take. Like that is on me. That's on me. And for which, like, some people, I think it scares them because they're like, oh, well, that's all on me. But no, girl, like it's all on you. Like you have the power to change that. Like
total body chills right now. I just have to say, not just arm chills, total body. Yes, preach.
But just giving yourself grace. And just because like if you are starting out on something and like the first attempt that you have at is bad, it doesn't mean you're not supposed to do it. It just means that you need to learn and grow while you do it. And so recognizing failures as lessons instead of like setbacks is something that's so huge. Like if you can learn to overcome, like you said, like be the comeback queen or whatever, like you are always comeback queen. You always have a chance to make it right and fix things and go and grow and move. Because if you don't, I just on the days that I do have a bad day where I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm not supposed to do this. Like, I wasn't meant to, like, just like being, you know, a person.
A girl.
Or just a person.
No, you're right.
Like, it doesn't mean that, like, I'm like, okay, like, bring it down here. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, you are not supposed to be doing what you're doing, or it just means that you are growing. You're going through a growth period right now. Absolutely. And learning to, like, embrace that and know that you are worth those growth periods. Like, you are worth the work and the effort that you put into yourself, because what else are you going to do? What else will you be doing in life if you're not working on you and evolving and falling in love with the process of becoming everything that you are?
Yes.
What else will you do? You will sit there and watch other people do it, and you'll just retreat further into yourself like I did.
Yes.
So it's definitely a choice. It's a conscious effort and decision daily to grow. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard in whatever you are doing. It does not mean that it's not going to be hard. It just means that work will be worth it, because
it
again,
will be totally worth it.
What else are you going to do? It's painful to stay the same or
stay the same.
It's painful to stay in a period of your life where you feel like everybody around you is moving forward. But that's the thing, is it's also painful to grow. It's painful to step out of your comfort zone and do something about it. So you have to pick your pain. Like the idea of comfort, like our comfort zone is literally an illusion. Like there is no such thing as being comfortable. Like you're either uncomfortable because you're unhappy with where you're at in life, or you're uncomfortable because you're doing something about it.
Yes.
And so just being able to identify that you are worth doing something about it.
Which uncomfortable state do you want?
Yes, exactly. And so I learned that, because like I used to think that if I was more fit, I wouldn't be so uncomfortable anymore. And it's just a different kind of like uncomfortable. Like instead of, my body is at a totally different place than it used to be. But now, instead of being comfortable with feeling like people are judging me because I'm not fit, now I get uncomfortable because I feel like people might be judging me because I'm not fit enough. Right. Or, you know, like that's the thing, is it doesn't all go away. It just changes and evolves with you. But you always have to be able to identify who you are as a person and what your limiting beliefs are, and be able to separate the two. And Give yourself grace to separate the two, because it's not always easy. Like, it's not always like, okay, well, that's, my negative thoughts just getting to me. Like, it's not. We're human. Like, we fall to human tendencies. We do. We're emotional creatures. And so give yourself grace, and wherever you are in life, know that you are worth the work that you put into yourself, because what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? And you can't leave it up to someone else. It's not, there definitely will be people that can help you evolve on your journey. Like how Tanner was the first person to be able to tell me something louder than I told myself. But it wasn't up to him for me to change. No. It wasn't him who made me do it. He inspired me, but it wasn't his burden to carry. It wasn't his burden to bear. You
started loving yourself more, honestly.
Yes,
that's totally what it was. Because love is an action.
Totally. And that's why I say, like,
more.
You have to know you are worth the work. Like, if you don't like who you are now, that's okay. You don't have to, but let's work through it. Let's figure it out. Like, let's get you to a place where you do love who you are and you do embrace, who you are. There are still things I don't like totally adore about myself, but I'm learning to love that and love the process of evolving with myself and with my mind and with my physical body and with my experience, like, just committing to evolving. If there's anything I could tell you, is just to commit to evolving, commit to the worth. Like, the work that you put into yourself, you're worth it. You're a good person. You deserve good things to happen to you, but you can't not act upon it. You can't just think that that in your mind and that shit's going to change, because it won't. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, you have to identify your level of worth and match it with your work that you put into yourself. Yep. You can't just decide and not do anything. You have to act upon the person that you are and the worth that that you have, and the experiences you want, and all that kind of stuff. Those aren't the things that define you, but it doesn't suck to go for it. It doesn't suck to, like, what else are you going to do? Like, that's just what I always come back to. I'm just like, okay, like, maybe today's a bad day, or maybe I don't feel like I'm the best at what I do, but like, what else would I be doing? Even if I was having this bad day in this business or in this season of life or as a friend or a wife, like, but what else would I be doing?
Right. Well, I think that this episode is going to drop on the first Monday of April, which, it's the beginning of spring. We've gotten through the first quarter of the year, and I think that this is going to be the perfect episode for people to listen to at this next season of the year, and it can be the beginning of a new season of life for the listener, because we want our words to do exactly what Jen Sincero did for you. We want to inspire people to start believing in themselves and start acting on self-love and becoming the better, healthier, happier version of themselves. So, Cinthanie, you're a badass, for one. And I am grateful that you are my badass co-host, and I am super proud of you for the milestones that you hit this week and are hitting next week and will continue to hit in your business. I'm proud of the person that you are becoming in your marriage, in your personal life, and everything. I'm just honored to have you in my life, and I hope that this episode inspires many people on the Monday it drops and many days to come. So we will end this episode with the important message that you've heard throughout this episode, but we cannot end this episode without reminding people that
you are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you. And that means giving yourself grace and knowing that you are worth the work that you put into yourself.
Amen. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next time. Ciao. Make sure that you find us on social media. You can find Cinthanie on Instagram and Facebook at Cinthanie. So that's CINTHANIE, and on Snapchat at Cinthanie P. And find me on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Club Fitz Fitness. Remember, that's FITZ Fitness. and on Snapchat, just at Club Fitz. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review, and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or a professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now, go live a Fitz and healthy life.